Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to the special town meeting of January 2, 2019. I'm Gene Cushman. I'm the town meeting moderator. And if you could all please stand so we can pledge allegiance to the flag. I pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Madam Town Clerk, if you could read the call, please.
Town of East Lyme, notice of special town meeting. Notice is hereby given of a special town meeting of the Town of East Lyme to be held on January 2, 2019 at 7 p.m. at the East Lyme Town Hall Upper Meeting Room for the following purposes. 1. To receive communications from the Board of Selectmen and the Board of Finance with respect to a resolution entitled Resolution Appropriating $4,640,000 for the construction of modifications and upgrades to the East Lyme Well 1A and Well 6 water treatment plant project, and authorizing the issuance of $4,640,000 bonds of the town to meet said appropriation, and pending the issuance thereof, the making of temporary borrowings for such purpose. 2. To consider and act upon a resolution entitled Resolution Appropriating $4,640,000 for the construction of modifications and upgrades to the East Lyme Well 1A and Well 6 water treatment plant project, and authorizing the issuance of $4,640,000 bonds of the town to meet said appropriation, and pending the issuance thereof, the making of temporary borrowings for such purpose. 3, to transact any other business proper to come before the meeting. A copy of the proposed bond resolution is on file and open to public inspection at the office of the town clerk. And this was advertised in the day paper, recorded in the town clerk's office, and posted on the signpost.
Thank you, Madam Town Clerk. As usual, I'll quickly go over the ground rules for a special town meeting. Under Connecticut General Statute 7-6, you must be an elector of the town or 18 years of age, a U.S. citizen, and owning property of $1,000 or more on the grand list. Under Connecticut General Statute 9-360, any person who votes at this meeting but is not eligible to vote may be subject to the following. 1, a fine of not less than $300, no more than $500, imprisonment for not less than 1 year or no more than 2 years, disenfranchisement, or all of the above. If you wish to speak, please come to the podium and give your name and address for the record. If you're not eligible to vote, please make that fact known before you address the meeting. Please do not conduct a dialogue amongst yourselves, but address all questions through the moderator. Motions may be made to approve an expenditure or disapprove an expenditure, but it may not be made to increase an expenditure. I appoint the registrar and the assistant registrar as teller and checkers if they're needed tonight. And we'll take each item in order. And Madam Town Clerk, please make note for the record that the meeting has received the communication as outlined in item 1. So we can move to item number 2, and I will entertain a resolution resolving to the appropriation of $4,640,000 for construction of modification and upgrades to the East Lyme Well 1A and Well 6 water treatment plant project, and authorizing the issuance of $4,640,000 bond of the town to meet said appropriation, and pending the issuance thereof, the making of temporary borrowing for such purposes. Is there a resolution? Mr. Mingo.
I move approval of a resolution that was entered into the record by the town clerk.
Thank you, Mr. Mingo. Is there a second?
Second.
Mr. Salerno. Is there any discussion? Would anyone like to make any comment? Yes, sir.
Brad Cargill, utility engineer.
Brad, come on up to the microphone, please, Mr. Carr.
Brad Cargill, East Lyme Water Utility Engineer. I'd like to just make a few comments regarding the project so people understand what we're talking about here this evening. Let me just briefly run through a couple of things. Over the last 10 years or so, much of the focus has been on improving the quantity of our water supply, which has included the construction of new wells to make up for lost capacity and completion of the regional interconnection project with the City of New London. The additional supply was needed to help meet peak summertime demands, and in general, adequate water supply is necessary for public health, safety, overall quality of life, and economic development potential. But this project tonight that we're discussing is one mainly to improve water quality. Due to elevated levels of naturally occurring iron and manganese in well 1A, we are proposing to increase the treatment capacity at one of our other wells, well 6, which is the well 6 water treatment plant. Now, this water treatment plant, well 6, is currently sized to treat and remove iron and manganese for well 6 only. So with the upgrade of well 6, as we are proposing to do, the water from well 1A would be piped to the well 6 facility and also treated to remove iron and manganese. Well A is located approximately 1,400 feet north of well 6. Okay. Now, this alternative was considered the most cost-effective because it eliminates the need to actually construct an entirely new facility or standalone treatment facility for well 1A. In fact, actually in 2002, when well 6 was built, some of the infrastructure was put in at that time with the intent of eventually connecting well 1A to well 6. Well 1A, and the reason why we consider this an important project, well 1A is one of our 2 largest wells, providing approximately 1/3 of the town's water supply. So it is very important to the viability of our system. Now, iron and manganese are primarily aesthetic concerns that have led to numerous customer complaints over the years because they can cause discolored water and the staining of fixtures and laundered goods. The EPA has established secondary maximum contaminant levels for iron and manganese for aesthetic reasons, for things like appearance, taste, odor, that type of thing. There's also some indication that the EPA may be regulating manganese further in the future, so we are watching that as that unfolds. Operationally, due to the iron and manganese, additional time and effort is spent by our staff to flush water mains in certain areas to minimize and manage the discolored water concerns. Some of you might even recall, as recently as in November, we had a very large water main break on Boston Post Road. And we had numerous related discolored water complaints that followed. And this gives some indication of the types of impacts that the iron and manganese can have on our water system. The iron and manganese also makes it more difficult for us to maintain adequate disinfection residuals within the distribution system, which requires more chlorine to be added, which would otherwise not be required to gain the same effect. Now, we've already done extensive study, and engineering design has been completed to get us to the point that we're at tonight. The Connecticut Department of Public Health supports the project. They are making drinking water state revolving funds available to us to construct the project. And this would be in the form of low-interest loans at 2% with a term of 20 years. The project construction timeframe is approximately 14 months, and it is planned to start in June of 2009 if everything goes well. And those are my brief comments on this. Thank
I
you.
assume you mean June of 2020, 2019?
2019, June of
19.
2019.
Would anyone else like to be heard? Yes, sir, Mr. Burgaw.
Joe Brigad, Director of Public Works. I'm also a resident and a water and sewer customer. So as a Director of Public Works, I just, as Brad Cargill said, he identified the need, and there's definitely need, but as a Director, I also need to, can we afford this within the rate structure? First of all, this is not being paid by the East Lyme taxpayers, this is being paid by the ratepayers through the rates that we charge our water customers. I took a look at a 10-year look ahead at our water budget coming forward. We also do have a water meter replacement project that's going to be coming in the next few months to replace things. But the more important thing is we have a lot of debt coming offline in the water department, and putting this project right after that, we can keep the rates stable. We looked at our rates compared to Norwich Public Utilities and Groton Utilities, and our rates are still lower. They're reasonable, and so I did look at the cost to incur this project, and it looks like we can stabilize the rates going forward while still doing this project. And if other people have any questions, but I just want to briefly say we did look at it to make sure that we don't have a project like this and all of a sudden the rates blow up in town. We're trying to stabilize that as we go forward.
Thank you, Mr. McGraw. Would anyone else like to be heard? Seeing no, oh, yes, sir, Mr. Schultz.
Mike Schultz, Lover's Lane, East Lyme. If, through you, Mr. Moderator, if well 1A were to remain offline, or if it is offline, would the interconnection from New London be capable of continuing to supply an adequate water supply to our town? I've heard that, rumor-wise, that it is fully capable of doing that. And secondly, has well 1A ever in the past been contaminated with other things other than manganese and iron?
Would anyone like
Thank you.
to answer Mr. Schultz's questions? Mr. Coggle, come to the podium, please.
No, I wish we had the luxury of basically mothballing well 1A because of the regional interconnection. But the way the regional interconnection functions is that we have to send water to New London to create this balance between sending and receiving water. We don't just receive the water from New London. So we still need to be fully capable within our own town to have enough supply during this time of year to be able to send enough water to New London for the purposes of receiving it. That's the way the permitting process was set up with the Department of Environmental Protection, with the Department of Public Health. Also, we always need redundancy in our system. You take a well like well 1A offline, which is a third of our supply. Even this time of year, it is a stress on the system. Relative to contamination or iron and manganese, we do have elevated sodium levels, especially in the Patagonia River aquifer. Sodium has become an increasing concern over the years and throughout many communities throughout the state of Connecticut, in New England as well. And it's something that's being wrestled with at the state level as well as in many local levels. There's not a lot you can do about elevated sodium. It is something that is probably best managed with best management practices. Now, in this, aside from sodium, we are always concerned about VOC, volatile organic contamination. The Flanders Road corridor is susceptible to a lot of potential impacts relative to contamination. This particular project does build into it a provision that should something like that arise, we would have the ability to hook up a temporary or a mobile sort of a GAC filtration system should something like that come into play, God forbid. Those are my answers.
Mr. Cargill, does the water coming from New London need treatment also?
Explain that again.
Will the water coming from New London need treatment at the new treatment?
No, it will not. The water that comes from New London, which is roughly a 3 or 4 month period out of the year, primarily during the summertime, is treated at the New London water treatment plant. So that water comes directly into the town as a treated source already.
Thank you. Mr. Mingo.
I just want to bring up some historical, to alleviate Mr. Schultz's.
Speak up or speak closer to the mic, please.
I just wanted to bring up some historical information about the situation that Mr. Schultz, I think Mr. Schultz is referring to well 1, which probably 25 years ago, we had hydrocarbons in it. well 1A is a replacement for well 1, so there was a problem in that area, and they're fairly adjacent to one another, so there was a problem with hydrocarbons in well 1, which is offline now, and 1A replaced it. So that was contamination in well 1, but never on 1A, was hydrocarbons.
Thank you, Mr. Mingo. Would anyone else like to be heard? Seeing no hands, then we'll move the question. All those in favor of a resolution appropriating $4,640,000 for the construction of modification and upgrade to the East Lyme Well 1A and Well 6 water treatment plant project, and authorizing the issuance of $4,640,000 bond of the town of East Lyme to meet said appropriation, and pending the issuance thereof, the making of a temporary borrowing for such purposes, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed by saying nay. The ayes have it. The resolution carries. That being the last item on the agenda, I will entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Mr. Siri, is there a second? Mr. Cunningham. All those in favor of adjourning, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed by saying nay. The meeting is adjourned.